Melissa, hello. How are you doing today?
Hi, Paul. I'm doing very well on this fine Thursday. How are you?
I am great, and I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Obviously, this is a little bit of a different type of interview today. Normally I interview shop owners that have been in the industry for decades, and you have been in the industry a very short period of time, but I've been a big fan of yours, and uh, some of people might have seen if they follow me on LinkedIn that we just sort of ran into you and your sister and friend outside a bar or a restaurant where we had our happy hour that night, and we came out and you guys were sitting there and we just started chatting and really struck up the conversation. So I'm honored to have you here. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. So, first of all, for those that are not familiar with you, which is becoming a smaller group by the day, please share a little bit about yourself and M95 machining.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa. I'm owner and founder of M95 Machining in California. I'm 27 years old and I started my company last year. I've been in the trade since I was about 14. My dad owns a sheet metal company and I started off working with him. And then last year, or 5 years ago, I became his machinist and I learned in the shop by myself. He bought a couple Haas and said, "Here you go. Have fun. If you like it, if you love it, I'll help you open up your own shop. If you don't like it, it's fine." And so I fell in love with it, opened up my own shop, and it's growing really, really fast and it's overwhelming, but I'm really excited for the future.
That is very exciting. And you are all self-taught. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did try to go to school. I did try to take a couple machining classes, but I had a professor who told me first day that I walked in the class, he told me women aren't machinists. I was the only woman in the class. And he looked at me and he was like, "No, women aren't machinists, so this might not be a fit for you." And I'm standing there in front of the whole class, looking at these 20 guys, and I'm like, okay. And so he let me sit in the class, but he wasn't going to give me a grade for the class. He said you could sit in, but every day, every time I showed up, he'd make a comment. He wouldn't look at me when I raised my hands when I had questions. And it was funny because he put up a bunch of YouTube videos for us to watch every day, and he probably lectured us for 10 minutes every session and was like, "Okay, here, you guys learn." And so he had no idea how to teach us because he was using the previous, controls on the Haas machines. And I told him, I was like, "Hey, I have these machines at work. I know how to use them. I've been running them for 2 years." And he was like, "Yeah, right, whatever. Just sit right there and don't talk." So, I sat through the whole semester. I didn't learn much. I made friends. But how was I going to tell my dad, "Hey, my professor is sexist and thinks women can't machine"? So my dad was like, "What'd you learn today?" And I'd kind of make things up and try to just hurry up and learn as much as I could.
Wow, that is quite a story. I am almost brought to tears. That is a terrible situation, and I'm sorry that's your experience. I'm curious why. How come you didn't tell your? I mean, obviously your dad is very supportive of you. Why didn't you feel like it was okay to tell your dad your shop teacher was sexist?
I think because he had bought the machines, and so he wanted it to work out so bad. We had POs, we had things that were coming in, and he already has this pressure of 30 employees, this really big company that he's running, and I just didn't want to be another problem in the shop.
Mm,
I wanted to
okay.
be a solution, and that's what I'm still trying to be to this day. Not a problem. I'll figure it out myself, and I usually do. And he was paying me to sit in the class, so I'm
Mm,
like, I'll figure it out. And I made a friend, and I remember I took a part, and I was like, "Can you guys please help me program this part? Because I have to make these tomorrow." And we had so much free time because the teacher would just go sit in his office and he would leave us
mm-hmm.
alone. And so
Right.
we sat there. I remember this guy named Jose, he became my first friend. And then, everyone became my friend, and I would watch them program, and they were eventually my teachers.
Oh wow.
So,
Well, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
That's very cool. Um, and so today, now, yeah. So you're. I know this from talking to you outside the restaurant, but so you have two sisters that are also somewhat involved in the business.
Yeah, I do. So I have two younger sisters. I'm the oldest of four. I have the youngest is my brother, and my sister that you met. She was helping me with like the marketing stuff, but she also she's an environmentalist, so that's what she does full time.
Hmm.
And I told her, hey, like, I need to focus on the machining stuff more because at IMTS, I was there as an influencer and the marketing stuff is like blowing up. And I said, hey, like, I need to bring it down and I need to pull it back because I am spreading myself too thin. And so let's bring the marketing back. And she said, okay, that's fine. And I said, let's take a month or two off. So she won't be working for me as much as she was. And then I have another one who recently got a full time job who was helping me run machines. But she said, hey, whenever you need help, because I'm not working every day, I can come help you.
Right.
So,
Okay. So
yeah,
your younger sister was running machines for you.
they both
Um,
have, yeah,
they
both of
both
them.
have. Oh, right
Yeah,
on. Fantastic. Is
yeah.
your little brother going to join you as well?
He doesn't like any aspect of machining or sheet metal or anything with the shop. No, he doesn't like any of it.
Okay, so he's
Yeah,
on a different path. All
yeah, yeah.
right. Interesting. So at this point, though, you are, although your machines are still housed within the facility that your dad owns,
Hmm.
like you, it's a full-on independent company. You're getting your own customers. You're delivering product yourselves. Yeah, can you just share a little bit about that? How that worked? How you even started getting your first business directly?
Yeah, so I got my first customer through Instagram, and it was actually a government contract. And they messaged me, and they were like, "Hey, are you a machine shop?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." I think my Instagram. I also started my Instagram last year for M95, and it was really slow. I didn't really know what to post or what to say on it, but they messaged me, and I was like, "Dad, like this company found me on Instagram." He was like, "Okay, cool," and he sent me some parts and like some really crazy parts, and I also had to learn how to quote really fast. So I quoted them, but then I also like had a couple other shops quote them, and I wasn't that far off. And so I did get the PO, and
Hmm.
it was really exciting, but it was really nerve wracking because I couldn't go to my dad anymore and say, "Hey, like I can't do this," or "Hey." Like before for my dad, I would just have to make parts. He would give me prints and I had to make parts and that's it. But
Sure.
now it's dealing with the customer, dealing with the engineers, delivering parts, POs and invoices and the banking and all this stuff. And um, yeah, they found me through Instagram.
And that has continued to be an effective channel for you. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what you do, what you've decided to, how you've decided to share content there and
um,
just market your company.
yeah, so I have an Instagram, a YouTube channel, and a LinkedIn. Um, I use Instagram 24/7. I have my personal Instagram and I have my machining and my company Instagram. And it was really easy to, start a company Instagram. I just didn't know what to post. But Tesla, shortly after, also found me on Instagram and they were giving me little jobs. And then they gave me a really, really big contract earlier this year. And then through my YouTube channel, I have this little old man that came in and he was talking to my dad. And then my sister came up to me and was like, "Hey, like that man's talking about you, something about your YouTube channel." So I kind of just stood back and he was like, "Are you Melissa?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so this is my second time working with him. And he'll just bring me a USB and he's like, "Can you make me these parts on this USB?" I never
Mhm.
really know what's on the USB or what kind of parts. I'm like, "Yeah, sure." It's usually, it's like 10 different parts, usually only a quantity of one for like an assembly.
Okay.
And he's like, "I found you on YouTube. I found you on YouTube. I saw your video. I love your story. I really want to help you out." And I'm driving like 2 hours to my current machine shop or this guy that I'm outsourcing to, but you're right in the middle, so I'd love to just work with you directly. I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Awesome.
So that way, and then on LinkedIn, my posts are getting about 50, 60,000 views. So I'm getting, from out of the state RFQs and stuff for people trying to help me.
Hmm.
I also have a TikTok now, but it's like we're getting there. Um,
Okay.
but the on posting on Instagram has been my biggest success, and I think next year my YouTube channel, I'll focus my time on my YouTube channel because I think I'll get more views.
Hmm.
And I've told my dad. My dad didn't really believe in it, and he's also very old school. And he's like, "Why do you have to post? Why do you have to post everything?" I'm like, "Dad, because Tesla found me on Instagram. Other people are finding me on Instagram, and like." It's just I don't do sales. I've never done sales for myself, and it's like my reel that I posted today in 30 minutes got 2,000 views. How am I going to hit 2,000 customers or eyes in 30 minutes? It's impossible.
Sure.
So if I could
Yeah.
sit here at the shop and just post like with my nails or something or whatever part I'm making like this and get like 50,000 views, like I'm going to get one of those views will be a connection, a friend, a contract, or a lifetime relationship with like a new client. So I highly suggest everyone who doesn't believe in it or doesn't have social media to really like get on it.
Yeah, so I'd love to dig into that. So for, let's say, a shop that's not doing much or if any social media today, how would you advise them to get into that, to even like what hashtags to include in their posts so people can find their content?
So the hashtags that I like to use are like CNC milling, CNC owners, Haas, because I have two Haas. I often include like the tools that I'm using, like hashtag Shunk, because they have sent me a bunch of free product recently to just promote on my Instagram and on my channel. Um, some people say to post consistently, and if you see my posts, like I think I only have maybe 20 posts or they're less than 30 posts, and somebody was like, no, you need to be more consistent. And it's like it's not about the I to me personally, I don't think it's about the consistency. I think it's about the quality of the post. If I don't
Mhm.
think it's if I don't think it's quality content, I'm not going to post it, and I know my viewers are going to be there. If I don't post stories in one day because I'm just super swamped at the shop, I'll post a story the next day. I'm still getting 1,000 views on my stories, or
Sure.
600, however many views. But um, I would suggest finding maybe somebody younger and who knows social media like Instagram. Because I did meet, I met a couple of people at IMTS and earlier this year that were like, what is Instagram? I don't know. I don't even know how to use it. Like, how do you even post? And
Right.
so it's hard, but it's not impossible. But I think it's really important to do the quality post, not the quantity of your post.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I learned about you through your posts on LinkedIn, because do you post a lot of the same content to all the channels, or do you post different types of content?
I post mostly on my Instagram, and then I try to do what I think is like the coolest or the prettiest or the cutest or like when my nails look the best on my LinkedIn, because that's what a lot of people know me as. Oh, the girl that machines with like really long nails.
Right.
Um, but it's like 90% of it is going to my Instagram and the stories. And then
Okay.
on LinkedIn, I'm not as active as I
Sure.
should be, but because I'm getting most of my views and my customers from Instagram, that's
Right.
where I'm posting my stuff.
Yeah. Go where it works. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and so I have seen, and I did when I first saw some of your posts, of you, holding a machined part that you've just finished, right, in your hand in front of the machine with your beautiful long fingernails, and most of the responses are positive, but some are not. Can you talk about that?
Oh my God. Yeah, I have so many stories. It was crazy because I even had to post a story and I took a couple screenshots and sent them to my friends. I was like, can you guys believe this? There are people that even on my YouTube channel that'll be like, no, you're just a phony or you're just pasting on your fingernails for the post. Like, what a waste of time. I'm like, okay. And there are people that say, are you gonna get your nails done soon? Because I'm tired of looking at those nails. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, it's only been like 2 weeks, but I can't believe that there's like, I think like 40% of my viewers are paying more attention to my nails than it is to my parts. And that's why these people are just watching me. They're like, oh, it's so interesting that she can machine with her nails.
Right.
There are girls that, say, oh, I tried to get my nails done, but the coolant ate my nails, but for somehow it's working with you. I'm going to try it again. I'm like, yeah, try it. And I'm careful with what I do, but now I'm honestly, I've gotten so used to it. I'm working at like 100% all the time and nothing ever happens.
Hmm.
So,
Well, you shared something when we were talking at IMTS, about and I don't know if it's the same class, but you mentioned that a group of the local technical college that has a machining program now had a surprising number of young women in it, and many of them said they had seen you and were kind of inspired and interested in machining based on what you were posting. Can you talk about
yeah,
that?
yeah, Yeah, so I started kind of working with Laney Machine Tech, which is in Oakland. It's close to where my shop is, and it's not the same professor that told me women can't
Oh,
machine.
thank goodness. Thank
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. So yeah, Adam is a great teacher, and I went there. Or no, he found me on Instagram, and then I went and I saw the amazing shop that the college has, and I was really inspired. And then um, I went to their like women's college day, and I got to speak there. But I think he posted me, or I did an interview with him, and he posted it on his story, and so that drove more traffic to my channel. And somebody he sent me a screenshot saying that somebody saw, or they follow somebody called M95 Machining, and they were inspired and they had never heard of machining and they want to try it out. And so they went to Laney, and then I went and I visited him and we talked, and he said, Melissa, can you believe 35% of our students this semester are women? And I'm like, oh my, that's almost 50%. Like that's kind of what we're working
Huge.
that's
That's
kind of what
huge.
we're working towards without directly working towards that. But yeah, I was really happy, and I get messages from girls or women all the time, like starting college. They're 18, 19. Hey, Melissa, I'm going to college now. I want to be an engineer. I love your post. You've inspired me not to give up, and I'm going to get my degree in engineering. And it's such a good feeling to know that there are girls that are younger than me that I can help them, accomplish their goals, and hopefully they're not going to have such a hard time like I did. If I if my 14-year-old self would have told me, Melissa, like keep doing what you're doing, 10 years from now, I'm 27 now.
Yeah.
10, maybe 12 years from now, you're going to own a company. You're going to be a machinist. Don't listen to your
Right.
professors. Keep doing what you're doing, because I wanted to be an engineer and I wanted to rebuild car engines. And every
Oh,
engineering
cool.
class that I took, I was the only woman. And any tech class that I took, I was usually the only woman. And
Right.
at the shop for the longest, coming with my dad, I was the only woman. And even though it was my dad, I always felt like it's kind of scary, or like, because you don't see it. And I tell my dad, Dad, women aren't machinists. You don't see them anywhere. And he's like, yeah, they're everywhere. I'm like, where? But it's a great thing that I think that I'm doing to help younger generations come into the trades.
Hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
would love to, have more friends that are women machinists. Just hang out and talk shop.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I saw one of your posts that you were inspired by a young woman. Was it in Denmark or the Netherlands somewhere?
Yeah, she's in the Netherlands, and I hashtagged, I think, machinist. And then I found her, and she has like 40, 50,000 followers. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a machinist. I'm just starting off. And like, I think that was like 3, 4 years ago. And I
Hmm.
was like, I can't believe like I found somebody else like me, and like we could talk. And then she like added me to a group chat, and there's like 40 of us from all around the world. Like our group chat is called Women Machinist. And I was like
Wow.
thrown back. I was like, wow, like I felt like a part of a community, or I could talk about, my sad stories or my crazy stories, and like, hey guys, can you guys help me with this? Or
Hmm.
like, we're all going through similar things with teachers or coworkers or other men in the industry.
Right.
So she was a lot of help.
Wow, that is so awesome. Wow, what a cool community to be welcomed into and supported by.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, in our company we have about almost, yeah, over 30% women, in a software company, which is also a higher percentage, manufacturing software. So pretty traditionally male dominated industry, but yeah, won't be satisfied until it's 50%. Like that's how it should be. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it's slowly working. I was in Birmingham in August for the Autodesk event.
Hmm.
They sponsored my trip, and they sent me to the UK to speak there, and I was the only woman on the panel, who got to speak in front of like 200 people, which was super cool. But I'm looking around, and there was probably only 20 women in the room out of 250 people,
Right.
and I'm like, at the next live sync up, I hope there is like 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's gonna take some time, but I think thanks to trailblazers like you, it is changing. It is, and I think the rate of change is greater now than it ever has been. That's my belief about it. Um, And so I'll admit I'm not a big Instagrammer. We do have some young women that help us do our Instagram, but I'm much more of a LinkedIn person. But there's definitely a community of younger women on LinkedIn that are posting and sharing. Um, I'll just call out. There's a young woman named Annabelle that works at IQ Manufacturing. She's an apprentice machinist, and she shared. We talked about this before we hit record. She shared just a week ago. She was delivering some parts to a customer. She had to be escorted through the facility, and this old dude just started reading her the riot act about why women shouldn't be machinists, and just totally completely unacceptable, like old school. Dude, please retire, just get out of the industry. Like, it's not okay anymore. It just really isn't. um anyway. um well, I thank you for sharing your experience on that. So I'd love to just learn a little bit more. So clearly, social media is sort of the cornerstone of your marketing. Do you do any other sort of marketing, branding things that to earn customers? Do you have a website at this point?
No, I
No.
don't even have a website. I had a website and then I didn't like it and then my sister saw it and she was like, "Take this down now." And it wasn't even up. It was still like, under construction, but what
Right.
I had, she was like, "No, unacceptable. Delete it." And she was like,
Yeah.
"You're doing great on Instagram and you're finding your customers, so just do that." And my email signature has a little Instagram symbol. So when you click it,
Okay. Yeah.
it'll direct you straightly to my Instagram page. So it's kind of like a website, and I mean,
Yeah.
eventually I'll get a website done, but at this point, I don't really feel a need.
Well,
But any,
that's fascinating. I mean, it's almost like a new paradigm. Like old websites might be somewhat antiquated in some regards, at least with the type of business you're running today. Um, but yeah, fascinating. Um, what are some of the biggest challenges you're facing just in your shop today?
so there are maybe a handful or maybe three handfuls of of problems, but
Yes.
I think the biggest that I think about every day is I need to get more organized, like
Hmm.
internally, like an
Yeah.
ERP system, which I'm working on. Get more like organized with my tools, manage my time. But also, most importantly, is finding people to take me seriously because
Hmm.
I think I've gained a lot of customers and respect because of my dad is very well known, and all of his customers that were doing only machining stuff with him are now my customers and they deal with me directly. And so they know, oh, this is Noe's daughter. There's no messing around. There's no nothing,
Hmm.
which is great. And even then, there are some customers that still like make comments to me. And I'm just like, you know who my dad is? Like, I can't believe you just said that to me in front of like all these people right here. Like, this is
Hmm.
embarrassing. And like I was telling you before we started recording, I went to Chicago. I was at IMTS as an influencer, but I was there to talk about the Trinity automation system that now I have on my floor. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see, I have this automation now. And my job was to just talk to them about automation and show them what I have. So I had my phone and I had my iPad, and I'm like, here, look, there was this man that came and he was talking to another man that wasn't part of the sales team, wasn't part of the Trinity team, wasn't anybody there. He was just there talking to people that were coming up to us. And then this customer really was interested in a system for his shop. And I was telling him, I was like, hey, like, I just got a system at my shop. Like, here are a couple photos. Here's it working. I got training in like 5 minutes. I love it. It's amazing. And he looks at me and he's like, okay, cool. Anyway, like, can we talk? And I'm like, and there, it always happens. There's just this guy or these men that just don't take me seriously or send me like these weird emails that I tell my dad and I show my dad and he's like, it doesn't matter, you just show them with your parts. And I'm like, but if it was you that they were talking to, this would have never happened, dad. Like, you don't
Sure.
understand that it's harder. It's always going to be harder for me and I'm always going to have to deal with that. And like I was telling you, I'm almost starting to get used to it, and like there's nothing I can do to to change their mind besides make great parts. And yeah, I used to take it to heart, and now that I'm getting older, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I don't have to work for him. I don't need this customer. I'll work with this guy. Like,
Sure.
one of my biggest customers now, one of his employees made a comment to me in front of like the whole team, and I texted him. I said, "I can't believe that you just made this comment, about me to me in front of everyone there." And I was telling my sister, I was like, if I lose this customer, and he's like a big customer of mine, that's fine, but I don't need that.
Sure. Well, um, again, it's it's I'm almost at loss of words. We shouldn't be having these. We shouldn't need to have these types of conversations in 2022. And unfortunately, the industry and some of the folks in the industry have not caught up with the times. That this is an equal opportunity industry. It's for everyone. It needs to be for everyone, right? I'm sure
Yeah.
as you see and talk to other shop owners, it's the industry, the machine shop industry in America needs way more people than are interested in being in the industry, right? There's just not enough new talent of any gender, of any type coming into the industry. So it has to be wide open and welcoming and accepting to anyone that expresses an interest in it. So,
Yeah, exactly. And I hope that once I have a team or once I have my own building, I can bring on people that weren't given these opportunities or maybe wanted to machine and didn't feel comfortable at one point. Like I didn't. I tried to before, opening up a company, I tried to work for other companies and I tried to do apprenticeships or just like, hey, I'll come work for you. You don't even have to pay me. I just want to learn. I just want to
oh,
watch.
really?
I just want to learn. Yeah. And I remember I went to this man's shop and he was like, okay, well, um, I'll let you know. And then he called me back and I went. And then he was like, yeah, I thought about it. Like, no, it's not going to work. And I told him, like, I'll come in 3 days a week. You don't have to pay me, like nothing. I just want to learn. And then he said, no, he didn't really have the time or the space. And I said, okay. And then, like, eventually he ended up like, oh, but I would love to take you out to lunch or out to dinner sometime. And I was like, I came here for a job. Like, what are you talking about? And it was just so awkward. I was like, no, no, no. So I hope that once I get a building, I can bring in a team of anyone who wants to learn, who doesn't feel comfortable, who, to be at a shop owned by a man or
Mm-hmm.
anyone, and be like, hey, yeah, come on. M95 is going to welcome anyone.
All
And
right. For those of you watching on YouTube, you'll notice that Melissa's background just changed. She had an internet outage and had to move offices. So we are back at it here. So, Melissa, you were just saying that once your shop is bigger, have your own building, facility, that you're going to welcome anyone that wants to work within your company. I'd love to have you continue sharing about that.
yeah, because I had such a hard upbringing, and before I started machining for my dad and for my company, I would go deliver parts. And I remember going into different machine shops, and they were always so dirty and it smelled like coolant. And I'd always have to like watch my feet. Like, am I going to step on a puddle? Like, there's something that's grabbing onto my shirt, like chips in my shirt or something. And it's like, I don't want my shop to be like that. I want it to be clean. I want it to be fun. I want it to be, I don't know, maybe part nail salon. Like, look, so I don't have to leave my shop and, go get my nails done. Like, I want it to be a fun, cool place. I'm 95 machining, but that's also like my playhouse where we don't only machine, we work on different projects and all of my employees, hey, I have this, or I think we should do this for content or for filming or I think we should, make these for the brand. And that's what I want. Even when I was working for my dad, I didn't really have a say in the changes or the things that I wanted,
Sure.
so that sucked. And I think it's important to work for someone that your opinions matter and they're actually going to take it into consideration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you there. It's having just because you are the owner does not mean that the opinions of your employees don't matter a lot, right? And you
Hmm.
want the voices of everyone in the company to share about how their ideas of how to make the company better or more inclusive or more fun or more competitive. Or we've had great ideas from our customers or from our employees, excuse me, over the years at our shop of things that they thought of that were good ideas, that we adopted as the company practice, right? And I mean, for us in our shop, we had a very formalized sort of lean Kaizen process. So, as an employee would be working out on the shop floor or in the office, and we actually trained them in the waste of the Toyota production system. I don't know if you've read much about that, but
Mm-mm.
there's very well documented wastes, overproduction and movement and transportation, motion, um, and and we would train them in those. And then if they realized they were doing one of those wastes, they would write down on a tag what exactly was happening, and they'd submit it into this like Kaizen newspaper process. And every week, the Kaizen team in each area would look at those problems and start. All right, let's figure out how to solve this problem, how to get rid of this waste in the company.
Mm.
Um, and over the years, we probably did more than a couple thousand improvement activities that were formalized improvement activities that really led to dramatic improvements in the company. And so, yeah, I totally agree with you. It's so important to hear the voices of everyone, and not just a top-down approach on how things are supposed to go.
Yeah, like when I was working for my dad and I was like, "Hey, like we should do like an Instagram for your shop or something to show off your parts." He was like, "No, that makes no sense. We don't need that." And now because of my YouTube channel and my Instagram, people are like, "Oh, your dad does sheet metal, right?" And he's gaining customers too. And it's like
Sure.
he would have never thought about it, but I'm like, it's if you would have, it's just something to consider, you know?
Yeah. So is he now a believer in social media?
No,
Is he
no,
getting
not
there?
really.
He's getting
I mean,
there.
he's getting there.
Maybe a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. My mom will be like, "Hey, like I haven't talked to the girls. Where are they?" And he's like, "Oh, doing the whole YouTube, whatever that thing is." And but I mean, he understands that it's a big part of my brand, and he's so supportive.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, are you? Sounds like you're pretty busy. Are you looking to? I mean, I guess tell me a bit about the next couple of years. What is sort of your vision for M95 over the next few years? What do you want your shop to eventually look like?
So I would love to have in the next 5 years, or maybe in the next 2 years, a team of no more than 10, because I don't
Hmm.
want it to be, this giant warehouse that is like, I don't even know who works for me, or I don't even know what's coming in and out of my shop. I never wanted to be something like that. I always wanted to keep it very tight and, create relationships with each of my future employees. Um, my dad has always told me, don't take on more than you can chew. I never want to do that. And sometimes I find myself doing that. I think it's also really important for me to know everything that's going on in my shop and to always be very hands on. Like, I know that a lot of women own companies, and I've seen, in the area, a lot of women own shops, but I've noticed that they only own the shops, but they don't really like know any of the hands on stuff, like how to machine or how to make parts and stuff. And so for me, that's really, really important. And I think if I have a whole team, I want everybody to kind of know like the basics of machining, even if it's just the marketing. I want you to know, how to make your own part, how to start up whatever machines I have in the shop. Even if you're just like shipping and receiving, or even if you're just there as my YouTube recorder, my director, whatever. Like I want them to have every knowledge, like just as much knowledge as I do.
Right.
But also within the next 5 years, I hope that I'm out of my dad's building. I'm independent from him. I can just show up to the shop in the morning and be like, wow, like I built this. This is M95, pink machines, pink walls, just as much pink as I could get in there. Hopefully a shop dog, and I really, really want to get into the fifth axis stuff.
Hmm.
Have like a nice Metsura. That would be really, really cool. Um,
Beautiful machines. Yeah,
yeah, they are, and they're huge.
they are. They are. So you mentioned Autodesk before. So what do you use for your programming?
I use Fusion, and I did like teach myself how to use Fusion too.
Okay.
So,
How did you teach yourself that?
just sitting there clicking buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's funny because when I would come with my dad and I was like 14, I would just sit in his office on Saturdays before he like put me to do something, and I'd watch him, and it's all you hear is like click, 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 and I'm like, you're probably not even doing anything, and that's like I sit at the computer now and just like click, 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 on everything, just programming. And so just sitting there, like clicking stuff, and also on YouTube. Fusion is really big on social media and on YouTube. And I think from being in the class that with my professor who told me I couldn't machine,
Mhm.
watching my peers work on Mastercam, they're all kind of the similar buttons and the similar names. So I
Mhm.
took that and YouTube, and just sitting there in front of the computer was so important. And even till this day, to just sit there in front of the computer and try different things, and that's how you get the hang of it.
Right. Right. Wow. And so, do you have? So, I'm not quite as familiar about the Trinity automation. So, tell me about. You have two houses. What are they? How are they set up?
I have a Haas VF2 SS and a Haas VF3 SS, and in the middle, in between both of them, I have a Trinity AX2 Duo. So the Trinity, the robot, I call him Max 95. So
Nice.
he'll come in the VF2 and take out the parts and put them in the loading station, and then he can also go into the VF3 and take out those parts and then put them in the loading station or put them back in any of the racks. It's really cool because he'll work with both of the machines.
Hmm. And is it actually lifting a pallet off the machine or individual parts out of a fixture? Is it moving
Um,
the whole fixture out into
It's
the
moving pallets. So I have a
okay.
24 pallet system, and
Uh-huh.
I have fixtures on some of them. I have shunt vices on the other ones. I own Out of the 24, I only have 8 in use. So my goal before the end of the year is to have everything sort of set up so I could
Mm-hmm.
just, run production more productively, or
Yeah.
my one-up parts and my little weird parts that come into the shop. Hey, can you make me one of these? All
Right.
those things.
Sure.
But yeah, it's I got like 5 minutes of training on it, and it's super easy to use. I really love it.
Wow. That's really cool. Um, so you obviously do one-offs. Do you also do some higher volume production as well?
Yeah, when I first started machining, where even now we were doing some crazy parts for Intels, and the quantities were like 2,000, and I was running
Wow.
them like one at a time. And it would take
Okay.
forever. And now all my production runs are for my dad. I am working on some quotes right now with a new customer, and those quantities are between 2,000 and 5,000. So I'll be able to use max 95 to its his capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But for my dad, I think our quantities are 6,000, 10,000, and then 500 that are contracts that are
Okay.
spread out, throughout the
Right.
year.
Right. So I'm just curious, with your dad, do you invoice him when he wants to buy machining services, or if it's a contract that's coming through his business, how does that transaction work?
He sends me POs for everything.
Okay.
He's very honest, since I've been working for him since I was 14, 15. He's always paid me, and I had friends in high school that worked for their family businesses too at the same age, and they were like, "Yeah, my dad doesn't pay us. Like, we don't get paid." I'm like,
Hmm.
"What?" I'm like, "My dad always pays me for whatever I do, even if it's like counting screws and putting them into a bag." And so, um, he'll I keep a mental note of everything, and I'm like, okay, like he's not gonna pay me for this now, but like I know he will. And it's like 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, like come on, like come into my office later today. We got to talk about everything I owe you, so we could just close it out, and I give you money. Like I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
So yeah, he's super honest, and then he has a lot of material in the racks in the back. So if I ever need material, I'll go and I'll get
Okay.
it. And one
That's
day
nice.
one day he came up to me, or he was like, "Hey, come here." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "How much material did you take?" I was like, "Dad, I only need like two little blocks." And he was like, "That's $40." And I'm like, "Okay." And he was like, "Be honest with yourself and be honest with me." He was like, "I paid for it. You need to pay me." I was like, "Okay, that's fair." And so we
Yeah.
have a very, very honest system here.
That's a good arm's length transaction,
Yeah.
where yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So do you think your next machine, so you mentioned a Metsura, what do you think you'd want to get?
For my next machine, I really want a UMC. I saw at IMTS they had that really cute UMC 350, which would
Oh,
be
yeah.
really nice because I'm running out of space here. But I think ideally my next machine would be like a UMC 500.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
what I want.
possibly a Metsura in the future
And
once
in the
you have the
future,
space
yeah,
and money to afford that.
yeah, because those are actually really, um, They're really big, they're really intimidating. There's a company around the corner, and I recently went to go take a tour, and they have like 10 Matsuras, and those things
Wow.
are huge. Yeah. I'm like,
And they're
do
the
you?
big pallet pool 5-axis type ones?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They have like 10 of the 5 axis big pallet pool ones.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they were at IMTS too, and I saw them there, and they were like, "Yeah, we're ordering some new Matsuras for our new building." I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool."
I imagine they've been in business for many, many years.
Oh yeah, it's like the dad and then the son and then the son and the dad is still there and I think he's like 80.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a big business they got over there.
So, do you want to have a multi-generational you want your shop to be multi-generational as well?
No. I don't
No. You
no,
don't
I
want,
don't
if you have kids, you don't want them to come into the business?
I don't want kids,
You don't want kids.
but
Okay, that's fair.
no, but and then I don't even know who would take over, I guess, if I don't want kids. And I've never even thought about that. I've only thought about M95 as just me, but I think I would have it sort of, if I have a will, it'll break it off, I think, between my siblings and my mom.
Mhm.
I mean, my
Mhm.
dad has a
Mhm.
lot already, but
Right.
yeah, I never
Well,
thought
maybe
about that.
your siblings will have kids and they'll work in the business and want to take
Yeah,
it over one day.
that would actually be interesting. Yeah, but I would want them to always, come into machining because you like machining, not
Of
because,
course.
you see how much money is coming into the shop.
Sure.
Because
Absolutely.
to me, it's like I at one point, like, yeah, I'm making, decent amount of money for myself, but I tell my mom, I'm not going into the shop because I'm gonna make X amount of dollars. Like I genuinely love to be there and love making shops and being there for like between I don't know, 10 to 15 hours a day sometimes. I'm like, I don't care, mom. I love being at the shop. It doesn't even feel like work sometimes, you know?
That's the right reason to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, let's see here. What would you say if you were I mean, again, this is a very different type of podcast than I normally do, but what would be your advice to shops that are starting out just like you are? The things that have worked for you, things that you are glad you did, or advice you'd have for a shop that's maybe even not even quite starting out yet, or is just about to open up their doors.
I got a lot of messages, on LinkedIn and on Instagram from, people that are, hey, I've been machining for 10 years. I want to start my shop, but I don't know how to do it. I really want to get into it, but I don't know how to do it. And a lot of people would call me a cheater because my dad bought machines and then give them to me. So, there's that side. And then there's people that are like, yeah, we support you. We love it. Keep doing it. But to the people that are starting off and want to get into it, I would say just do it, take out a loan. I would have taken out a loan if that's the route that I had to go to because I love machining. Um, and don't give up because I had the teacher who told me you can't machine, put me in a really dark place. And I would come to the shop and see these big machines and I felt so small. And I was like, maybe he's right. I'm not going to be able to machine. I'm not going to be able to do it. Women don't do this. Like, who am I kidding? And so I'm really glad I didn't give up. Like, don't let your fears dictate your future or your dreams, is what I tell myself every day. Um, it's a lot easier, I think, for a man. And a lot of the messages that I'm getting are from men that, want to start their own companies. I would say if you don't know how to machine, start working for someone and either go from there. I know a lot of my dad's friends who own companies and own machine shops were like, I was a janitor or I was just sweeping and now I own shops, which is
Yeah.
crazy because there are so many people that start off like that. I was just hired to clean and now I own my own shop.
Yep.
So, and
Yep.
like I like to tell everybody, my dad tells me, Melissa, if I can do it, why can't you? So
Sure.
anybody that, tells me like, oh, I don't know, but you did it. I'm like, well, if I can do it, like, Paul, why can't you do it? You know?
Right. Yeah.
So I would
Well,
say just don't give up and just, you never know what might come out of it. I don't know where M95 is going to be in a year from now or if I'll have another machine in a year from now. So I'm really
right.
looking forward to the future.
I love that. That's such a great message. Um, what do you think shops, regardless of size, should be doing today to prepare themselves for the future?
Like my dad says, Melissa, save your money. But
Yes.
I think social media is getting really big. I think it's something that every shop needs to get into, the social media stuff. Um, The social media stuff, because it's getting bigger. A lot of people aren't doing sales, or if they are doing sales, a new way to do sales is the social media stuff. I had to do sales for my dad's company during kind of like COVID or like post
Hmm.
COVID. And then
Hmm.
all the employees are now at home or are only showing up like once or twice a week.
Hmm.
So how can you do sales, if everyone is working from home? I would highly suggest getting somebody on the marketing side to market yourself through Instagram and LinkedIn. Maybe even
Hmm.
TikToks, because TikTok is the new Instagram, but that's a whole different monster.
Yeah. I think that's incredibly wise. We learned that lesson about what I'll call being sales driven or marketing driven early in our shop's history. We were not doing that. And when actually 9/11 happened and the downturn happened in the aerospace economy, well, the whole economy, but more in aerospace, it hit us really hard. And we almost went out of business. And it wasn't until we met a business advisor who worked with us who really just reinforced that we have to get our company out there. We have to, do marketing. We have to get our name and our logo and our brand in front of potential prospects. And by really focusing on that, and we did it mostly with our website and other methods, in the early 90s, but because Instagram wasn't a thing, of course. But nonetheless, we used the tools we had available, and that really made a huge difference. We started, as soon as we started doing that, it took a few months, but then it really got traction, and we just started growing and growing, and we maintained that sales driven, marketing driven sort of stance for the rest of the history of our shop. And it wasn't, ironically, it was only the times, like sometimes we'd do some marketing and sales and then we'd get a ton of new work and we'd be so busy that, like myself, I started out being a programmer, machinist, doing all of it. But then I kind of naturally kind of moved into the sales and marketing side, did all the estimating. Um, but if we'd get so busy, then I'd have to start actually programming and running parts again, and then we'd stop doing marketing, and then what do you know, 3 months later we'd slow down again, right? And we'd
Yeah.
have this up and down cycle of business. And so yeah, just learned the importance of doing that all the time. So I think that's really wise. Many shop owners, um, are people that have the technical skills, but they don't have quite as much of the business savviness and the marketing skills, and so they don't put as much effort into that. So I think, yeah, very prudent, very wise.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work. People are like, "Oh, my dad's like, how hard is it to just post a picture?" I'm like, I have to get a quality photo. I have to think of like the hashtags. I have to think of what time to post it, because I've looked at all this and it all makes a difference. I have to think of a caption and or what kind of stickers, what kind of emojis, like all of that matters. And it is
Mhm.
so 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 important, and I think like I will soon hire somebody to handle the marketing side 24/7, because I cannot do everything at once, and if you can hire someone, you don't even have to worry about it. But it
Mhm.
all has to be good quality. And again, it's about the quality, not the quantity of your
Sure.
post.
Right. Well, you said something also there that I think is very wise, and basically the concept of buying back your time, right? If you can hire someone to do Instagram for you that knows how to do it well, and then you can focus on the tasks that only you can do right now, um, that's a way to leverage, the greater sort of company time to the best benefit, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's actually something that I'm learning and continue to always learn in the coaching that our company is a part of, to buy back your time. If you have a $20 an hour task that you can hire someone to do that, you should hire them to do that so you can work on the 200 or $2,000 an hour tasks, right? The
hmm
things that only a business owner can do, or someone that's was with more technical skills.
Yeah, I'm learning
So,
that right now the hard way, and it's like I'm realizing like I just need to hire someone, and like it's okay, and I can't do everything at once. Like my shop is just me right now, shipping, programming, invoicing, everything.
right.
And yeah, it's impossible for one person to do. And like you said, if there are $20 tasks right now that I'm like I need to hire someone, then I'm gonna look for someone, because
Mhm.
I can focus on those $20,000 tasks that I
Yes.
should be focusing on, or taking spending more time on those tasks.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we started our shop, there was actually several of us that started the shop together. So I can't even imagine what it's like with just yourself. So kudos to you for getting as far as you've gotten so far so quickly.
Thank you.
It's pretty remarkable. So want to start kind of wrapping things up. What if people want to reach out to you, want to learn more about M95? How would you? I think I know the answer, but how would you suggest they do that?
You guys can find me on Instagram at M95, on LinkedIn, Melissa Ramos. M95 doesn't have a LinkedIn, and I also have a YouTube channel that I only have 3 videos. It's Machining with Mel, but coming 2023, I will be, posting weekly videos and stuff, and it just takes so much time, and I honestly bit on more than I could chew, and my first YouTube video got 25,000 views in like a week. And I
Whoa.
was like, "Oh my god, like there's something here, like there is something there." And I'm like, once I hire someone and once I get a little bit more control of the machining stuff, I can focus on the YouTube channel that will, drive me more customers, more views and, more revenue. But Machining with Miles, my YouTube channel, but again, be patient with me. More content is coming.
Okay. Well, we will make sure to link up all those links in the show notes on in all the different podcast platforms and on our website. But Melissa, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate your wisdom, your insights, the uphill battle it is as a young female business owner in this industry. Thank you for sharing all that. I know it's going to be really impactful for a lot of people to hear it. So
Thank you.
I
Thanks
can't
for
thank
having
you
me,
enough.
Paul.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you around, hopefully at another event soon, like IMTS. And
Yeah.
thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Bye. Hey there, folks. This is Paul again. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Machine Shop Mastery Podcast. I hope and believe you found it interesting and insightful. Melissa definitely had some great things to share, even as young as she is in the industry. But I hope the main thing that you took away from this is that the struggles and challenges that women in our industry have are real and substantial. And I want to encourage you, if you are one of these folks that believes that the industry should not be open to all genders and races and people of any type, I would really encourage you to look at why you think that way. I would encourage you to hopefully take a bigger perspective on what our industry truly needs to be able to grow and feel welcoming to anyone that shows an interest. Because as we all know, in 2022, when I'm recording this, there are not nearly enough people coming into the industry that that are expressing interest in being a machinist or being in the machine shop industry. So we need anyone and everyone we can get. I know personally some of the most talented and capable machinists I've ever worked with are women. And there's no doubt about, in my mind, that we need to get to the place where this industry is 50-50, men and women alike. So, so again, I hope you can reflect on that and do things that helps you and the people you know feel more welcome in our industry. I think that's really important work for all of us to do. So thank you again for listening and or watching, and I appreciate the support for my podcast. We've gotten some really great feedback as of late. That's just really encouraging me to continue to dig into these important topics that our industry needs to talk about. Until the next episode, thank you so much again, and we'll see you on the next one.